we're just chilling. We're just
Cool.
chilling in the office.
Chilling in the office.
Right, Ben?
Right.
Yeah, and me and Ben don't know each other, so
You just
you can
ask
learn about
questions.
me.
Yeah.
Just be like, ask Ben anything
Sweet.
on the podcast. See what...
this will be fun.
just put him on the spot.
All right. I've actually been recording for the last 20 seconds. Just
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
But we're
Perfect.
ready to go here. All right.
You should do that. You should add the, some pods or whatever they do, like the cold opening or the ending, and it's just
Yeah.
some like...
I'll get creative with this.
Yeah.
Figure something
See,
out
that's scary because I would totally say something that I'm not supposed to say with the mic on. You know?
Well, don't worry. Ben will take care
here. I'll
of it.
get creative with the editing. It'll be fine.
Sweet.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Scots on the Run podcast, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening in the Gordon College cross-country and track and field programs. In this episode, it's been a little while. We've got a lot to catch up on. We've been to several different meets on the same weekends in both cases, I believe.
Yep.
Lots to talk about. Daniel Chewning is here with us as well, but nobody ever calls you that. You're better known as Chewy.
Yeah.
So
What's going on,
we'll
everybody?
talk to you first. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going great. It's cold outside. To walk all the way over from Fulton. It's like a 10-minute walk out there. It's cold.
We were just talking about how you were born in Quincy. You're like, the cold shouldn't affect you, man.
It shouldn't.
I'm from Southern California. I'm the one that needs to be like upset on days like today. You should be like, oh, this is just, I was born in this.
True,
You know?
but you're forgetting I grew up in North Carolina, so that kind of affects it a little bit.
Well, Chewy, you and I have met a couple of times very briefly, but
Yeah.
I still don't know you all that well, so why don't
Yeah.
you just go ahead and briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I mean, I was born in Quincy, Massachusetts. I moved to North Carolina a couple years after, and my family kind of started over there. And then the six of us moved back up, and yeah, we've kind of stayed in the Beverly area ever since. And I wanted to come to Gordon to kind of keep staying in this area. That was kind of my whole reasoning why I wanted to go here, just so I could stay close to my family, be close to my little brother specifically. So.
Is your family in Beverly now?
Yeah, they're in Beverly.
Okay, that's where my apartment is actually.
Oh,
So
no way.
I'm
We're in Beverly.
close by, right off 1A. So
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, it was a good weekend, man.
It's a great weekend.
And Chewy, you were probably one of the big surprises this weekend, in a good way, you know. Why don't we do this? Let's talk about your race, but I think that it'd be fun to talk about your background after the fact. But
Sure.
So, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about your race yet, which is kind of fun to do this on the pod. But yeah, man. So, like, tell me about it. How did it feel?
Yeah.
What was going through your head, man?
I don't know. Henry and I, before the race, I had a regular 60, you know?
Yeah.
It was just the same old. And I was like, in my head, it was like, this is the last indoor meet we got. Like, this is my last chance to run, like, a good 2.
Yeah.
And I was telling Henry, like, I was watching some of the guys run out there,
Yeah.
and they were running, like, 22 lows. And I was
Yeah.
like, I feel like I could get in that 22 range.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like I just felt like it was going to happen that day.
Sure.
And it did. I don't know how. It just got to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, well, I guess, did you do anything different? I mean, obviously you're at BU. This is your second time running on this track.
Yeah.
The first time around, I was there. And I remember you just being pumped. You ran 23.2.
Yeah.
I think you were, at that point, you were really excited about that mark. I remember seeing how excited you were on your face.
Yeah, I was like...
I guess, yeah, was there anything different in terms of, other than just the confidence of how you were feeling going into it, was there anything different in your approach and how you attacked the race?
Yeah, so I kind of changed my race plan a little bit. Normally when I run the 2, I push out like really hard to that first curve, and then on that straightaway I coast a little bit. And this time I kind of was just like, I'm going to push the whole way through.
Yeah.
Which might not have been smart, but after that 4 that I ran, I was like, you know what? Like, we've been working really hard.
Yeah.
I might make it, I might not. And it worked out.
Yeah.
Like, I almost fell at the end because I had a pretty intense lean. And I kind of, like, hobbled over the finish line. But, I mean, it worked, so.
Awesome, man. So what was again, so I couldn't be there, as we were talking about, Ben. Like, we separated our team this weekend. I brought the throwers up to Bowdoin. The majority of our team was at MIT. And then we had a handful of athletes over at BU. But, and so, yeah, you were one of the athletes over at BU because, you know, as shown by this weekend, you know, a lot of fast times are ran there. So I couldn't be there. You crossed the finish line. Your time pops up on the screen. What's the first thing you do?
Oh, I yelled. I screamed.
Yeah.
Like, I literally, I don't even remember what I said. I just remember freaking out. And, like, I just heard Ethan be like, yeah, like somewhere.
Yeah.
It was funny. And like Henry was like, I mean, his race just finished before mine, so he was kind of like doubled over, like, yeah. But I was freaking out because, I mean, like it was me and this one other guy in the front, and he passed first, and I was like right behind him. And when he passed, like I looked up, and he had a 22. I think it was like 68 or something. And I was like, I definitely got it. Like, I definitely got it. And then my number popped up, and I, like, freaked out.
Well, 2287, I mean, and to go from 23.2 down to 23.87, again, I mean, if we did the actual math, it's like 0.33 or something like that.
Yeah.
To improve by a third of a second in a 200, some people try to do that in a whole year.
Yeah.
Right? And again, you might not know this because you're not exactly a track guy.
Yeah.
Right? And this is actually a good segue because you haven't done track since when? Like when? Like you did track in like junior high? Does that even count?
Yeah, I mean, I ran track in 8th grade, and I did like a lot.
There
of
was
the
like
same
no
stuff I do
practice. It was just like you just did basketball and then you went out to
basically.
track.
Like the only reason I ran track was to stay in shape for basketball.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's what's unique about you is you tried out for the basketball team here.
Yeah.
And then you decided to come out for track. So tell me more about your mindset, I guess, coming from high school, going into college athletics, wanting to play basketball here, and then ending up on the track team. Tell us about that story a little bit.
Yeah. So, man, this kind of starts in middle school because we had a family friend named Eric Demers. Who's like Gordon, famous guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he played in the G League for the Maine Celtics. Like, big basketball guy. We have like, and I'm in a huge basketball family, so it was perfect.
Right.
And so like, after like living with him for a few years, I was kind of just like my dream to come over here and play Gordon basketball.
Sure.
Same way he did. And so when I got here, well, you have to remember too, it was also like coming off of a COVID year, so it was like they had a pretty full roster, and it was just like it was tough for me to make the team anyway.
Yeah.
So he couldn't guarantee me a roster spot, which was fine.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to come in and try, and it didn't work out, and I just had to realize that was okay, because I think at that point in my life I put a lot of like my identity into basketball, and it was hard when he told me I didn't make it, but like regardless, I knew that like if I didn't do a sport, I would have way too much free time on my hands.
Yeah.
And I had to do something. And so you remember when I saw you in the gym?
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was back before we had our new weight room, so
Exactly.
we were working out at the gym. I know. I think I was. I can't remember if I was personally working out or like the team was there or whatever, but I remember you kind of like stopped me up there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I kind of talked to a lot of like people on the basketball team, and I was like, guys, should I join track? And they were like, oh yeah, like you can run, you can jump, like you should definitely just try it out. And I was like, okay, does anybody know who the coach is? And I remember they like kind of pointed you out, like somebody was up there with me, and they kind of pointed you out, and I was like, oh seriously, it's that guy? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And so I like went over. I know. So I went over, and I was like, hey.
I'm actually a little disappointed. I thought there was like a lot more thought going in this. It was just kind of like, yeah, you should do track, man.
I mean, it was built up. It was like more than one conversation. Because I mean, I talked to my parents a lot about it, and they were like, "Oh, you should definitely try it." Because I mean, like I said, I did it in middle school, and I was all right. Like I went to states, but like I don't know if that means anything as an 8th grader. I went to a really small private Christian school, so I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that meant anything.
Yeah.
But
well, just to wrap up or follow up, I've talked to Todd Murphy, our head basketball coach, since you've joined the team. I think it was last year, or maybe it was over the summer, and we were talking about you, and he said to me that you were probably the hardest cut he had to make, right? And so, obviously, that's a testament to who you are as a person and as an athlete, but I will say I am certainly glad he did do that. And Chewy has been a pretty phenomenal addition to the roster. You didn't do indoor last year because, the conversation you're just talking about, that happened, I believe that was in January, right at the beginning of the semester.
Oh, yeah.
And so we kind of made that decision to not have you do indoor. I know you had a couple other conflicts at the time, we just kind of trained you through, had you come out. You broke the long jump record, your first long jump ever in outdoor, and then you played a pivotal role in probably one of the more legendary 4x1s that I've coached or been a part of to win the conference in the 4x1 at our conference championship last year. So, yeah, you were our anchor leg there. So that was obviously pretty incredible to see you go from, a basketball guy to, and I think, dare I say, that was the moment you became a track guy. When everybody was sprinting to the finish line to basically mob you for winning the 4x1 right at the end. That, again, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And now you're a school record holder in the indoor 200, which will stand for the next year because nobody on our team is going to run the 200 for the remainder of the indoor season. And that's pretty neat, man. I mean, it's you've come a long way. I'm really excited to see where you go in outdoor as well, man.
I'm excited too. It'll be fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and just to get back to some of the
Sure.
other records that have been broken
Yeah.
the last couple of weeks, Henry, who I know you've trained with over the last several weeks and have been pushing each other in your training and everything, he broke his own school record once again in the 60 with a 7:19, so he shaved a few more hundredths off his record. Jesse Commanda was running the mile, had a
That was
big
cool race.
PR
record
in the-
as well,
in the mile.
yes.
Yeah, that was at BU, and I got to say that record stood for almost 14 years to the day. Is when he broke it. So that's pretty cool because we've broken a lot of records, but even since I've been here, we're a young program, so sometimes that happens. We have our roster currently has a lot of current record holders.
Yeah.
So that means all they have to do is go run a new personal best that's usually going to result in a school record. But there's been a handful of records that have stood for a while, and so that one means a lot to see Jesse break because, like you said, it's been standing for over a decade and a half, almost a decade and a half, so it's pretty cool.
It was, and I mean, watching it, like, it was a strong race too. Like,
Yeah.
he looked good out there. He was patient in the beginning because Jesse normally, if you see him run, he runs right to the front of the pack, which I was kind of expecting. But before his race, we talked a little bit about what his strategy was like. He was like, I just want to play it cool and then really just push it at the end. And honestly, he did a great job of that.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's been a little while since we've
Yep.
gotten a chance
Right,
to
right,
do
right.
one of these episodes here. So, Coach, just what are some of the other highlights from the last, I guess, month or so that you've seen throughout the different meets that we've been at?
For sure. Well, I guess even if we're talking the last 2 weekends, Olivia Garrity is a first-year weight thrower who didn't throw a lot of weight in high school. She throws hammer outdoors. And our previous record was 9 meters, something, maybe 10. I don't think it was 10 meters even. And so she's thrown, this past weekend she threw 14.5. So that's obviously our new school record. She currently ranks 9th in the nation amongst freshmen or first years in Division III. So again, that just bodes well for her and for her future. And she was on our podcast last time. Also having a good weekend was Lizzie Gaskill, another first year. So obviously it's nice to have some young talent that we're looking forward to developing over the next few years. Lizzie ran a PR on Friday at BU, just a slight PR in the 60. And she came back and she ran at MIT on Saturday and ran a PR 8:17 to make it to the finals. And then in the finals, she ran 8:07. So she went from 8:24 to 8:07 in one weekend. It just goes to show you, sometimes it takes, if you get a few chances in a weekend, it can really benefit an athlete. So she, in addition to doing that, she also broke the school record in the indoor long jump and qualified for New England. Actually, so she qualified for New England in the 60. I should have said that before as well. Amaris Goodwin has qualified for the 60, and then this past weekend she broke the school record, which was not hers. So she's now staked her claim as the best 200 runner in Gordon history. So she broke the school record in the 200, qualified for New England's in 200 on Friday, and then on Saturday she came back, qualified for New England's in the indoor 400 at MIT. So she's now qualified for the 60, 200, and the 400. And then, of course, Rachel Brennan. She's someone who, we hear her name all the time, but she continues to find new ways to impress us. Because when you get to, the better you get, I've always said, the better you get, the harder it gets to get better, right? And so the fact that Rachel Brennan is still dropping 15 seconds, which is what she did this past weekend in a 3K, and again, so that's what
15 laps on an indoor
right. So it's a
track,
on an indoor track. Exactly, it's a second a lap. So that's per 200, and that's really hard to do. I mean, it'd be hard to do a half second a lap. So I think it's really impressive what she's doing and how she's trying to set herself up to run well at the end of the season here, and hopefully have a national qualifying time is what obviously her goal is by the end of this indoor season. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's plenty more highlights, lots of PRs this year. We've broken 13 school records this indoor season, and there's a couple more that we're going to go for at New England's at the end of the month.
So on that note, looking ahead, one more meet on the indoor schedule, and then we roll into outdoor season.
And we're just going right into outdoor season.
Why don't you give us a brief preview of who's going to be going to New England's and what's going on there?
So New England's, we have, it'll be February 25th, so it's a Sunday. That's the only way that the meet could be held at New Balance, and that's obviously a premier facility, so that's kind of the reason why it's on a Sunday. We should have... so like I said, Jessie will be competing as an individual, Lizzie Amaris as individuals, Tiana Fox, actually that's another person I should have mentioned. She's won, so she's been in first the last two invitationals that she's been in, qualified for New England's in the shot put. Olivia will also be competing as an individual, and then obviously we talked about Rachel. So we'll have, I believe that makes 5 individuals on the women's side. We'll have Jessie compete as an individual on the men's side. We'll go for the women's 4x2 record as well, and then I think we're going to try to break the men's DMR as well. We're going to go for that. So a slightly smaller group, but I think it's probably a bigger group than what we brought last year. So looking forward to seeing what our crews can do there. And then the last thing we have, I guess one of the I don't know if you want to call it a highlight or whatever for the remainder of this month is starting tomorrow, which is Thursday, again, whenever this is released. Maybe it's released actually the day of, but February 15th and 16th, we have our annual fundraiser, the Clash of the Tartans. Last year, it was a huge part of, I think, of our success, but also the experience we were able to give our student athletes. I've talked about these curved treadmills all the time, and we've used them a lot, especially early on in this winter. We couldn't get on the track for a couple weeks. And, our kids really grinded on those. I know that they're tough, but
they're so tough.
But even so, we had a nice day on Monday. We got out on the track, and I remember saying to them, like, you guys look so strong here in this workout. And it is because we were able to get equipment like that. So we've got a few more things we want to upgrade in the program. Again, it just kind of goes back to giving the student athletes a great experience, and also, again, the better the experience, also I think makes us more competitive as a program, right? So yeah, the next 2 days, hopefully if you're listening to this, hopefully you already know about it. But obviously, if you haven't heard about it, send me an email. We'd love to get you involved and love to tell you how you can support.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you all for supporting us through the podcast here by listening, and we will see you in a couple weeks to recap New England's.
Right on, brother.
Sweet.